what is up you guys? So today I'm going to share with you guys how to make a homemade makeup primer. So I went on Google and I searched all kinds of different makeup primers and I looked at their ingredients and I noticed a ton of makeup primers actually contain dimethicone and dimethicone cross polymer as their ingredients. And it's actually really high up on their ingredient list, which means it has the most percentage rate of those products. Now I'm not saying that every primer out there is made with these two ingredients, because I did find some primers that didn't have these ingredients at all. But I did notice some of the most popular primers that I see out there actually contain these two ingredients. So my name is Tara and I do all kinds of homemade skincare product recipes here on my channel. So if that stuff sounds interesting, subscribe because I have a ton of more videos coming in the future. So there are already a lot of makeup primer recipes here on YouTube, but I don't really think any of them are quite involved as this recipe is. So literally you can just simply use Lotion Crafter EL40 as a primer itself. It's a product that contains the ingredients dimethicone and dimethicone cross polymer. And in the description of this product on the website, it says that it is a silicone-based product and it is a common ingredient used in makeup primers. But that's no fun. I wanted to make more of a complicated recipe. I don't know, I find that being fun. I love experimenting with stuff. So if you want, you can just use this Lotion Crafter EL40 as a primer, or you can do what I'm about to do. So let's just get into it so you guys can figure out how to make your own homemade makeup primer. So like a lot of the recipes that I do here on my channel, this recipe is going to be broken down to a water phase, an oil phase, and a cool down phase. So this is what the recipe looks like here on the screen. You can go ahead and screenshot this, save it for later, and come back to it and make it later. So what I'm going to do is combine my oil ingredients in this little small container here and use the bigger container for my water ingredients because I don't have another small container. And I'm going to heat both of these up and pour the water phase into the oil phase. And the reason I'm using this smaller container to combine everything in is because I'm only going to be making 1 ounce of this stuff and it needs to be a small enough container in order to blend everything evenly. Just try to keep that in mind when you're making this product. So we're first going to start off with the water phase. And you want to make sure both of these are in heat safe containers because you're going to be heating it up. So for the first ingredient in the water phase, I'm going to be using distilled water. Make sure you use distilled water. No other water will work. It'll grow bacteria and you don't want that in your products. So make sure you're using distilled water. And I'm going to be using 47% of the distilled water, which equals 14.1 grams. Now for the next ingredient in the water phase, I'm going to be using vegetable glycerin, which is a humectant, also known as an emollient, which helps lock moisture into the skin, which makes it a great ingredient for a makeup primer. And I'm going to be using this at 3%, which equals 0.9 grams. Now for the last ingredient in the water phase, I'm going to be using DL-panthenol, which panthenol is a great vitamin to have in skincare products. And since you're going to be having your makeup primer underneath your makeup, why not add a few little vitamins into your makeup primer to make your skin healthier? Since you're going to be packing on makeup, which may not be the best for your skin and for your pores, so why not add some vitamins to your primer? Also, I've seen that this was a commonly used ingredient in some makeup primers on the market, so I figured why not? I'll add it in. So you want to use the panthenol at 2%, which equals 0.6 grams. And after you add it in, you just want to give it a good little mix to help dissolve the powder into the water. And normally this dissolves very easily, and if it doesn't dissolve then it will dissolve when you heat up the water. So that is all for the water phase. Let's move on to the oil phase. So the first ingredient I'm adding to the oil phase is btms 50. This is a emulsifier and it also adds conditioning benefits to the skin when you're using it. So this is a great ingredient to use as an emulsifier for a primer. And I'm going to be using this at 3%, which is 0.9 grams. Then for my coat emulsifier, I'm going to be using stearic acid. This is just a coat emulsifier. It goes well with other emulsifiers and it'll just help thicken up the primer a little bit more. And I'm also using the stearic acid at 3%, which equals 0.9 grams. Now for the last ingredient in the oil phase, I'm using grapeseed oil because this is an awesome carrier oil that absorbs easily into the skin and it's great for acne prone skin as well. So it definitely won't hurt being used underneath your makeup. If you do feel like you have oily skin and you don't think a carrier oil is necessary, you can opt out for it and just use 5% water in place of it. That'll be fine. So I'm going to be using this at 5%, which is 1.5 grams. So now it is time to heat both of your phases up. And what you want to do is just take a pot, fill it up with like an inch of water, about depending on how big your containers are. Place your containers into your pot. And it's also not a bad idea to take some aluminum foil or plastic and put it over top of your beakers just to help eliminate any water that might evaporate out or just eliminate anything that might get inside of it. It's also a good idea to weigh your water phase. Take note of how much it weighs. That way after it's been heated up, you can add more water in case there was any water that may have been evaporated. So it's a good idea to go ahead and heat up some extra distilled water while you're doing this part. So you want to make sure you heat these up to about 156 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 70 degrees Celsius, and hold it there for about 20 minutes to help sterilize anything and just make sure everything's around the same temperature. So just remember, you want to pour your water into your oil phase and then immediately mix up with your blender. So as you can see, this has fully emulsified. There's no little like chunks in it because that can happen sometimes if it doesn't emulsify perfectly. So that looks good. So now I'm going to take its temperature because the Lotion Crafter EL40 likes temperatures below 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's at 109 degrees, so we're good to add in the EL40. So I do want to give you guys a good look at this Lotion Crafter EL40. As you can see, it's this really thick, translucent gel. Like I said, it makes your skin feel so powdery and smooth. So we're going to be adding in 35% of the EL40, and that is 10.5 grams. Then you just want to mix it into the mixture. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in my preservative, and I'm going to be using my Leucidal SF Complete. And this preservative is recommended to be used at about 2% to 4%, and I'm just going to be using it at 2% in this recipe because I'm going to be putting it into a pump bottle, so I'm not really going to be touching it. So I'm not going to use it at its highest recommended percentage rate. But if you're going to have it in a container where you're sticking your hands in, I recommend using it at about 4%. But depending on what preservative you use will determine what percentage rate you want to use your preservative, because all of them are used at different percentage rates. And all of them like different types of temperatures. The Leucidal SF Complete likes temperatures below 157 degrees Fahrenheit, so just make sure your mixture is below that temperature, or whatever temperature depending on what preservative you're using. So I'm using 2% of the Leucidal SF Complete, and that is 0.6 grams. Now I'm just going to give it one last mix with the hand mixer. So if you guys can tell, this has just a very a consistency to it. It's a nice white color, and it has a very jelly consistency to it. So I'll just give you guys a little example of how it dissolves into the skin. So really you only need a very small bit, and then it just easily just melts into the skin. And like I said, it leaves this powdery, just nice, smooth, moisturized consistency onto your skin. So now I'm going to be combining everything in this little airtight pump bottle here. But I do think this container is really nice for this primer. It makes it look like a nice store-bought, high-end type of primer. And it's airtight, so your product will stay nice, sterile, and clean. And you really only need 1 or 2 pumps for your entire face. So I really do hope you guys enjoyed this homemade makeup primer. I've seen so many homemade makeup primer recipes here on YouTube, but not to burst my bubble or anything, but I really feel like this is probably the most high-end homemade makeup primer recipe I've seen online. I know I haven't seen them all, but this is pretty nice. If you're gonna make any homemade makeup primer, this is what you should make. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any requests for any future videos. Also, if you guys didn't know, I do sell homemade skincare products over on my Etsy shop. I sell all kinds of different products over there. If you have any requests for any products you would like to see on my shop at some point, leave them down in the comments below and maybe I'll do that. I have a free shipping code and a 10% off coupon code down in the description box. I also linked my shop down below as well, and I also linked it up here so it's easy for you guys to find. So I do hope you guys have a great week, and I hope to see you guys next time. I'm gonna start repping this stuff all over my body. I hope you guys know I'm just kidding. But seriously, if you put this all over your body, oh my gosh, it would feel so good. I can't imagine how it would feel.
I'm stuck in the motions. I've been consumed by the wrath of time like I'm I'm shattered in this life. It's still the path that I've chosen. Because I've had a vision, now I'm on a mission to find myself